welcome everybody to this special event from MOD, Life Interrupted. I'm not sure how many of you have joined us yet, but we're looking forward to you being part of the discussion. You'll be able to leave comments in the chat stream. If you're sharing this on social media, please use the hashtag ModInterrupted and allow me to introduce myself. My name is Matthew Wright-Simon. I'm really delighted to be here with you. I'll be joined shortly by Kristin from MOD itself. So Life Interrupted has been developed to explore leadership in an age of uncertainty and disruption, something that I'm sure many of us can identify with here from your own homes. And where we're broadcasting from is on Kaurna country, the people of the Adelaide Plain. So I want to acknowledge that Kaurna Miana, Kaurna Yata, Nadlu Tampandi, which effectively says I acknowledge the land of the Kaurna people themselves, and I want to acknowledge all First Nations people tuning in, and as this is a recorded event, those who check this out in the future. So we've got some brilliant guests to join us who are going to explore three themes. Our themes are discombobulation, dismantling, and discovery, and how we emerge from this. So this is conceived by Kristin Alford, who I'd love to introduce to you and welcome on screen, and just to hear a little bit from Kristin. So Kristin is a futurist. G'day, Kristin. And she's the director of MOD. And so uncertainty, leadership, what does it mean for you, and what's this all about?
Yeah, so this session called Futures Unlearned is really a chance for us to explore what type of mindsets that we might need for futures that are uncertain and disrupted. And this was actually planned over 6 months ago to coincide with our Seven Siblings from the Future exhibition, which was the exhibition that we had in our galleries, and it's still dormant in our galleries at the moment. And the particular focus of one of the sessions we wanted to explore was what type of leadership is needed. So as we approach a world which requires a change in us about dealing with climate and dealing with social inequity, what new types of leadership behaviours might we need? What leadership behaviours might work better than others? And then, of course, now that we're all hit by incredible amounts of structural change very quickly due to the coronavirus, it just seemed like too good a topic not to keep exploring. So it's really great to be able to do it in this different format and share it with people online. And I think it is relevant beyond the coronavirus for everyone, but at the moment it also feels like a needed discussion for us to be able to think about what we might be able to do differently.
I love the idea of unlearning as well, because there's a lot of discomfort amidst the uncertainty. And so Futures Unlearned is got this lovely paradoxical energy to it, which I'm really looking forward to exploring.
Yeah, I always go back to there's, one of the and I know that our guests will know what I'm talking about here, but I always go back to the work of Suhail Inayatullah, when and he's got a framework that's used to, when you want to map out the future, what do you need to think about? And one of the things that we don't often think about when we're mapping out the future is what do we bring from the past. But I think more importantly, in this unlearning phase, we want to work out what we don't want to bring, so that we're also giving ourselves space to discard old habits and make space for new habits and new discoveries. And I think that process of shedding skins is something that when I'm talking to people at the moment, there does feel like this kind of release of some parts of what we were holding on to that feel important. Nervousness about what's coming, which is completely understandable. Some excitement about the ability to create something new, and then fear. Because all of those things are hard, and they challenge our very notion of what we hold dear and our identity and all of those things that we value. So I think it's just an interesting discussion anyway, but it's an interesting time to be having this particular discussion.
Yeah, I completely agree. And for those of you making comments in the chat, anything you wish to share about your own unlearning experience or what it is around identity, or your own leadership, self-leadership and leadership that you've found really innovative in this period. And again, we're just really all spending a lot of time with uncertainty. So it's a really fabulous thing to explore. And just one thing I wanted to mention before we introduce our first guest. So there's a writer and researcher called Shoshana Zuboff, and she's developed the term surveillance capitalism, which is about some of the big tech companies, some of which we're relying on right now. But one of the things that she talked about after an extraordinary event, her family home was struck by lightning, and the lightning pierced the house and detonated a fuel tank in the basement of her house. She was able to get out with her family, but everything was destroyed. And she now talks about holding the future lightly, and how she has minimal expectations of what that is. And an observation she made, I was listening to this in a podcast very recently, is just how unprepared our minds are for things that are unprecedented. So I think that goes to what you were saying, Kristin, about these layers, the history that we build on, and the layers of identity. So just any other comments you might want to make before I introduce our first speaker on discombobulation?
No, I think that is absolutely a perfect lead into discombobulation. Yeah, brilliant.
Wonderful. All right. So again, for everyone tuning in, welcome if you're just coming in. So the way that this is formatted is we have 3 speakers. Each of them will be talking to a particular theme, and I'll introduce our first speaker very shortly. Each of the speakers has developed a provocation, a question or a prompt for everybody involved in this, and that includes all of you. And we're looking for responses to that. So this will come up shortly after I introduce Brenton, if it hasn't already happened. So our first speaker will be brought into this, and you'll see myself and Kristin on screen, but there's a waiting room. We have a green room off over there that has all of our speakers who are enjoying this as well, and I'm looking forward to what you're saying and tuning into that.